navigating and re-navigating your life path when you hit a brick wall. Today's episode is about an Indian woman entrepreneur who has been in business for more than 20 years and runs not one, but 3 interdependent businesses. She didn't set out to be an entrepreneur. She was an athlete since young, and she thought that she had a life mapped out until a sports injury forced her to rethink what she wanted to do with her life. Hello and welcome to Season 3 of the WeMantra Asia podcast, and I'm your host, Krista Good. WeMantra Asia is my way of bringing to you stories of hope, courage, and optimism from inspiring yet down-to-earth women in business across Asia. This episode is sponsored by Redbox Studio. Today, I'm speaking to Padmaja Vaswani of India, who manages 3 businesses focusing on learning and development, organizational development in addition to diversity and inclusion. Padmaja is the founder and CEO of Siksha Group, which offers learning and development for companies across India. She's also the CEO of News Navigation that specializes in executive coaching and organization transformation solutions. Finally, she is the co-founder of WeMantra, which enables individuals and organizations to identify and break barriers to co-create a diverse and inclusive ecosystem to unleash human capital and growth. If that's not enough, Padmaja established the Siksha Mehak Foundation in 2006, a trust that supports children with cancer, autistic children who are orphaned, and education for talented children from lower economic strata. Onwards to today's episode. Welcome to the WeMantra Asia podcast, Padmaja.
Thank you, Krista. It's a pleasure joining you today.
So, Padmaja, the first question I always ask is, where are you physically located?
A good question to ask in these days of COVID. So I am located in Bangalore, which is obviously India.
And are you in lockdown right now?
Thankfully not. We are anticipating another, but as of now, we are not in lockdown.
Okay.
And we don't hope to get into one.
Understandably, right?
Yes.
So, Padmaja, before we get into your business, tell us a little bit about you when you were growing up. Because I've heard that you were an athlete. Tell us that story first.
Okay, so I need to know, where did you do your bit of homework to finding that I was an athlete? And it's true, and it's quite a long story, but I'll try to keep it as crisp as I can. Ever since the age of 6, I found my passion in sports, in athletics. And I was very fortunate to get the right environment and ecosystem where I could follow my passion in sports. And at the age of 10, I was picked up by the state government as part of their sports school, which is a special school for children who have passion in sports. And ever since the age of 10, I was able to participate in a lot of competitions at the state level and national level. And I recall until I completed my college, which is at the inter-university level, I was a much celebrated athlete. As luck would have it, while I really enjoyed to being in the spotlight in the field that I chose, which was athletics, I was a hurdler. And by the end of my 3rd year of college, when I really navigated my career path basis, my passion for sports to such an extent, Krista, that I chose my education with nutrition and dietetics because I wanted to become a dietitian specialized to provide for athletes or to support and guide athletes because you never had that concept in India in those years. I also did my specialization in sports journalism because being an athlete, you get to travel a lot. And I had my own inclination to writing. So I said, why not write about my own experiences as an athlete? I used to work, I was guided by a coach at that particular point in time, who was a specialist in sports medicine. So I thought everything was, absolutely carved for me. And this is the future I'm going to step into. But life has its own adventure, right? And so did I. Right in my final year of college, when I was in one of the inter-university event, I met with an injury that kind of made an absolute full stop to pursue my career in sports as a sports professional. When adversities hit you in life, there are two things you do. One is that you buckle under pressure and you say, okay, there's no further life. The other possibility that you always explore is what else you need to do. And having been an athlete, for us, while competition was important, you're also told that you always need to hit the finishing line.
Yeah.
Right. So I took it on my stride. Not a very happy feeling, though, at that point in time. And I had to completely re-navigate my career, my life, and explore, new ventures and new opportunities. And I always remember the story of Christopher Columbus, right? The way he discovered America is like, you keep moving west, continue. There's going to be turbulence. There is going to be a lot of things that are going to come your way. But you need to stay focused and maybe explore something else that you're really passionate about. And yes, I landed up finding what I never even thought that I would really find in my life. And that is what I am today after 30 years of that journey.
Okay.
So that's in a nutshell to talk about my transition from being an athlete. From age 6
to an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But in those days when you first found out that, you couldn't continue with sports, I'm sure that must have been devastating. And your world turned upside down.
100%. Can't agree more to what you said. Today, after many years, and when you kind of pause and reflect, there are a lot of concepts that we provide to people where we talk about emotional intelligence. How do you really navigate yourself with those feelings? One is becoming aware that what has landed on you. And the second thing is, how do you really manage your emotions and take charge, right? It did take time. It's not that it happened immediately. But for me to take those educated decisions, I'm very grateful to my parents who supported me at that point in time not to give up. And sports anyways teaches you persistence and endurance, right? And that is what I took as my clutch or anchor. And literally told myself that I need to take my next, leap of faith in whatever that maybe I need to explore and discover for myself.
I see. And because of that, your life took on a different turn. And that's how you ended up in entrepreneurship. So perhaps this is a good time to talk about that part of your life. And how did you first had this interest, or how do you even land in this industry?
Sometimes I start believing in the saying that they say man proposes. So in my context, woman proposes and God disposes. So when you have a very open and reflective mind to what you want to do, and especially when you've gone through certain adversities that you've not experienced in your life, right? And like I said, I had to re-navigate in terms of what is it that I want to really do. Because all my life I had designed that this is what I'm going to do. And when that didn't happen and went boom, you're always exploring possibilities and opportunities. And as a next part, I thought I want to become an employee of a very large organization so that I can get to contribute all the skills that I owned and I developed. I thought maybe that is what I wanted to do. But I was very fortunate to come across in my initial phase of my career with a learning and development organization, which was specialized in human capital development. And to me, that was very unique as a spectrum to explore, right? People talk about technical skills, people talk about functional skills. And when you're talking about something which is to enhance human behaviors and help people and individuals perform better, and when I experienced it myself in the initial part of my career, I was really awed with what I saw. And as luck would have it, I got an opportunity to work with a Scandinavian organization, which were world specialists in providing solutions that would enhance human factor and human capital development. I think that was a breakthrough for me in my life. And when that happened, I completely leveraged and optimized in focusing and dedicating to tell myself, yes, this is what I want to do. I found some kind of a fulfillment that I'm in the right place at the right time, doing the right things.
Yeah.
And 5 years down the lane, here I get an opportunity to represent an organization up in north of India, wanting me to set up its operations and business in south of India, which is Bangalore. And that's how I landed in 2000 in this city. And then I saw a different possibility altogether. So in 2000, when I came as a co-founder of this organization, and very early in 2002, I was given an opportunity to take over the organization and become an entrepreneur myself. And thanks to my life partner, all credit to him. One of the aspects that I always question: do I have enough risk-taking appetite to venture into something of my own? And I would have shied away from doing it when this opportunity came in. But thanks to him, that I said, I cannot play safe anymore. And let me take that stride, let me take that leap of faith to believe in myself and say, yes, I can do it and I will do it. And it's 20 years. I've survived.
So it was a good positive step for you.
Absolutely. But if not for the nudge from my life partner, maybe I don't even want to think about it.
So your life partner must have said something, or at least, mentioned something that made you take that first step forward into entrepreneurship.
2 sentences. So when I shared with him this particular opportunity coming my way, I recall him asking this question to me: how confident are you to taking this up? And I said, well, I think I can do it. Then the next question he asked is, what's stopping you?
Those are really powerful questions, by the way.
Absolutely. Powerful questions. And if not for those questions, I'm not even sure whether I would have made up my mind. Maybe I would have been a very loyal employee to some big firm in India or some other part of the world by now.
So in this way, he's also part of your success.
100%. It's always, they say behind every man's success there's a woman. So I think behind every woman's success, at least in my case,
behind Padmaja.
Yes.
There is a man.
Absolutely.
Is pushing you and encouraging you and bringing you forward.
Right. And it's a continuum. Thankfully, we've been together for the last 20 years in this journey. And there's always that support that I know I can anchor from him.
Is he in business with you?
I made him the chairman of the company soon after I took the organization, after a year.
Okay.
That is what I gift. That was my written gift to him. And that was my reciprocity and gratification for what he made me today as an entrepreneur.
But that's really lovely. I mean, I really didn't expect that, even though we had spoken before we got into this recording. So now tell us about the business. So we've gone talking about your upbringing, at least the part where you were an athlete, and and how you were given this opportunity to lead and take over the business. So tell us about the business itself.
Okay, that's a question that I normally don't stop talking when asked. But again, for the purpose of this a podcast, I'll be very mindful of the time, and I'm going to talk about what we do.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, human capital development is a very unique spectrum, especially when I got into this area in the mid 90s, especially in India, right? When there was a lot of focus in encouraging talent on building their technical, functional skills across industries in the corporate world. And so when I saw opportunities emerging, when people started talking about looking at people as an asset, right? Lot of organizations, the larger and the smaller ones, not only the Indian companies, but a lot of multinational companies which came into India, they wanted to attract talent, and not only attract talent, but also ensure that they are provided enough skills, just not the technical functional skills, but also the people skills, also the human professional skills that are required for them to perform better. And by those means, it was very important for these organizations to retain those talent as well. So I saw a huge opportunity, and also just not an opportunity. And since I felt very connected doing, exploring this particular area, and I saw there's a lot of scope that was still not fulfilled. And I'm talking way back in the late 90s and 2000. When you used to talk about behavioral skills at that particular point in time, people always used to bring in motivational speakers. How do I motivate our workforce and keep them happy? But thanks to the entire spectrum of IT and IT-enabled services that happened in the Indian market, the way the behavioral skills and the importance that was given to behavioral skills had a complete shift, and a very focused investment that were made not only by the companies which were forging into it, but also the government, the state government and the Indian government. They felt that India has a huge population and there is immense talent that is available. But if you need to make them corporate ready, it's just not the functional and technical skills that are sufficient, but they also need to own certain behavioral and professional skills that are going to create that differentiator for them in the marketplace. And I saw that opportunity coming my way, and I said, it's time for me to stay focused, explore avenues, and it was also important for us to parallelly build our skill sets. Because if you're going to advocate or teach someone what they are required to do to perform better, help organizations see a return on investment in the people that they have hired, it's very important for you to be a subject matter expert in that, right? So learning and development as an area I see is just not always giving, right? It's also very important for you to stay relevant in the marketplace. It means you can't be complacent in this industry. You have to continuously learn. You need to be agile. You need to pick up skills which are ever changing. What we offered 20 years ago is not what the market needs today. Right?
Can I ask you, what do you offer when you first started? Under Siksha, right?
Yeah. So when we first started, we had a lot of clients which came in from the information technology and the IT-enabled services, because when you talk about Bangalore, right, Bangalore is known as the San Francisco of India, right, or the California of India. So from that context, you have a lot of IT and IT-enabled services companies which thrive out of this market. And a lot of these organizations had just set up and they wanted to kind of grow and scale. And which is where we found a great opportunity to maximize. So in the initial years, our focus was more towards providing professional development skills for these individuals to perform better and become talent ready in whatever projects that they would take with clients which are just not limited to India but across the globe, right? But we also realize that, when you face adversities in life, you always plan for adversities proactively. So one of the questions in our strategy meet, so by 2005, Siksha as an entity was recognized by some of the media houses in India, most of the clients in India, as their preferred learning partner for the kind of quality work we were able to do. So in our strategy meet, I remember in 2005, and we had a small team at that point in time, one of the questions that we asked ourselves is, what if there is a disruption that happens in the marketplace, right? What if, God forbid, a 9/11 or a tsunami, right?
Or a pandemic. Pandemic.
We never even thought about a pandemic at that time, right? Yeah. So what if a disruption that can happen could be a natural calamity, could be anything. And how prepared are we at that particular point in time? How are we going to sustain ourselves? How are we going to still not lose our path? Because our North Star was very clear. We want to stay in this industry and keep adding value to people and in turn organizations that we partner with. So, which is when we said we need to expand our scope and not limit it to a select industry. And if we need to move beyond this industry, what else we need to do? What are the other solutions that we need to bring in, right? And that changed our entire approach to the marketplace. So while we celebrated our success with whatever that we could leverage from the industry, which was heavily investing at that point in time in talent development, we also started exploring avenues where there were other industries that also began to invest in their people. So by 2010, we reached a space as an entity where we were just not limited to a particular industry segment, but we were able to work with people and organizations across the spectrum, right? Because one of the things that we told ourselves is, what are we enabling people with? We are enabling people with the skills that an individual needs to perform better in their role, right? And if that is what we are doing, it need not or necessarily be limited only to a particular organization or an industry. It's the entire spectrum. So we started beefing up our expertise, our skills to ensure we can be ready to offer those solutions across the spectrum. And how did we go about doing, Krista? Because, when you are an organization which is self-owned, you're competing with multiple brands internationally, right? It is not easy you cannot be a small fish in a big ocean. There are going to be sharks that will come and just eat you. So we also had to thrive in a very competitive marketplace and come up with a strategy that would allow us to stay in the top 3, right? So what we did was, instead of reinventing a lot of solutions, we looked for strategic alliances that can give or enable us with unique value proposition that we could combine with our solutions to offer to the marketplace. So the biggest takeaway for the clients that we worked with, therefore, was here is a global solution, but we could localize and customize to speak your language and offer it.
How did you find that solution? Now, that will be interesting to know too, right? How did you narrow it down? I'm sure there are plenty of choices out there.
Absolutely.
Or was there not?
It's a good question. And I mean, that's a very good question. So, like I said, every year as a team, we always used to ask ourselves the what if questions, the disruptive questions, or the radical questions, right? And that allowed us to constantly explore opportunities and possibilities. So we had to do our market intelligence, competitor intelligence all the time to know and anticipate what else we can offer. And by the time, 10 years that we were an established entity, there were a lot of global players who were also wanting to venture into the Indian market. So I would say, in one end, while we were exploring solutions which are very unique, different, that we could add and complement to what we have to offer, on the other end, there were a lot of global organizations which wanted to venture into the local market in India, were also looking for partners, right? So I would say it was a win-win. And we clicked with a Swedish company, which are the world's pioneer in business simulations. It's called Selemi. And that's how we got into a partnership with them in 2010, when not many players in the market was offering business simulations as part of their solution. We were able to integrate and offer it as a leadership development solution. So that was a starting point, and it just continued, right? Even when we started the company in the early years of Siksha, we had one of the solutions that we partnered in India was a company which was a very renowned company in the field of service solutions. It's called Telephone Doctor. So we obtained their license to be their representative in India. So when we offered solutions for folks in India that needs to be trained to leverage and capitalize on the other markets in the geography, those solutions were unique, and it really provided what it was required for the organizations at that point in time. So it's a continuous exploration path, right? Like I said, you can't unlearn a lot of things. You can't learn new things, because by the time you take time to learn, invest resources, have that research, something else has already come into place. So one way of doing it is you do it all by yourself. The other way of doing it is, can you collaborate and bring in solutions that are aligned to the vision of our company, aligned to what we want to provide. And as long as it's there, why not? So even today at Siksha, we continuously explore what else and how else. And I think those two questions allow us to constantly look for solutions, either proactively or at least anticipate solutions that are aligned to the marketplace.
And that is the second business that you have, right now?
Absolutely. So I would say from Siksha, we kind of explored two new opportunities as a different entity altogether. One is in the segment of diversity and inclusion, right? So being a woman entrepreneur always is celebrated, not in many nations, but thankfully in India, I would say that I was celebrated for having to be an entrepreneur. And a lot of organizations that we partnered with, which were some of the elite clients, global and local clients, would invite you to come and share your story with their folks within the organization. They also gave us opportunity to explore or provide solutions that can help their women leaders to acquire and grow. There were a lot of organizations at that particular point in time. Maybe in the initial phase, there was a lot of gender bias that they sensed, and they said, if we need to build an equitable organization, how do we get women at par and also have them in the leadership role? So when lot of clients came to us and said, hey, you're a woman entrepreneur yourself and you've grown to what you are today and you're running an organization successfully. Can you help our women who are high potential or emerging leaders? Can you equip them with the necessary skills? And we started kind of curating content and providing what we can do. But over a period of time, we realized that diversity and inclusion as a has become a separate entity within a lot of organizations. While it started with many organizations which are multinational companies or global companies which came into the marketplace, but today a lot of Indian companies, right, have also investing in building an inclusive ecosystem. So we saw that as a potential opportunity. We know that we can add value. We have been there, done that in whatever limited scope that we did. But we realized that why not make it a separate entity, though it has a relevance at the end of the day to human capital development with corporates that we align with. But can it also have a focused solution that we could provide? So I partner with another colleague of mine, who's Dr. Abba, and together we set this up in 2017. And we've been very fortunate to work with some of the organizations, more from a consulting spectrum of providing end-to-end solutions and building an inclusive ecosystem. So when that happened, and like you rightly said, learning and development today as a solution that is being seen in organization is grown beyond just not training in professional skills or leadership development, but a lot of organizations also want to kind of organically grow, right? So organizational development or organizational behaviors are something a lot of both Indian and global companies have started investing in, right? And organizational development or organizational transformation is a separate, separate. You need to have a separate prescription to dealing with. You cannot just give skills to individuals. Of course, you can spruce them up to perform better, but they also need to understand their role in the larger picture or a bigger picture perspective, right? So when News Navigation Switzerland approached us in 2016 and they said, hey, we see you doing good job in whatever area that you're providing to your clients. Is this an area that you would also be interested in? Would you like to partner with us in transforming organizations, right? Navigating organizations to success. Navigating organizations in times of change, right? And at the end of the day, again, we asked ourselves this question: what do we want to do? While at Siksha, we architect talent development across spectrums, sales, service, leadership. We have a gamut of solutions that we are providing today, which has a very integrated approach of an end-to-end journey, right from assessing the baseline skills to ensuring that they're provided the right skill sets to perform. We also said that can't we be a value enabler and be a strategic growth partner to many organizations? Maybe the fulfillment that you would gain will be a lot more. And thus emerged News Navigation India as a joint venture company between News Navigation Switzerland and Siksha. And we are looking forward to transforming a lot of organizations and leaders in those organizations to help them achieve their dreams, their passion as well.
So you've got your hands full.
I'm happy and I'm lucky. That's the way I see myself.
So you've talked about how you started, what you started with, and then how you partnered and collaborated with other organizations to bring in even more useful, as well as more, how should I say, holistic? Can I say holistic solutions for all these organizations? And you've also brought in the diversity and inclusion aspects to it and have it spun off as a separate entity so that you could really focus on an end-to-end solution for that. So you've been an entrepreneur for the longest time. Why do you think you've been able to do what you do and do it successfully? What's your secret sauce?
Well, that's a very interesting question, and I need to ask myself when I soon turn 50 as to what's been my secret sauce of my life. Following my passion was always my secret sauce, right? At the age of 6, when I knew I want to be an athlete, right? And when adversities happened and I couldn't pursue it, I said I wanted to explore what else is my passion. And people enablement, can you be a true value enabler to others in their growth story? And I think that is what helps me sustain whatever that I get to do today. Like Simon Sinek says, as long as you know the why, the purpose of what you're doing, right? And in news navigation, we call it your yeast, your motivator, your driver. So my passion has always been that, can I add value to an individual? And in turn, when you work with organizations, right, I think that really gives me that zest to do what I'm doing today. So following my passion would take me to whatever heights I want to go. And as long as I follow my passion, I believe that life is going to be a great adventure to continue exploring and continue learning.
So once you've learned that you have got this follow your passion secret sauce, let's put it that way, then I'm sure over the last 20 years of you being in business and more, I'm sure there are times when you experience disappointment or even failure. Would you have anything that comes to mind that you feel that, wow, I had that, but I think, like as you said, you always have adversities, you always have something in your path, but how did you overcome that challenge in your business?
I think disappointments and failures are part of any learning, is what I consider. And yes, there were many disappointments, and I wouldn't call it failures, because for me, the way you define the word failure in itself is a belief that you're challenging, right? So the moment you say you fail, are you taking it as a learning? It's an experience, right? And the way I define failure is more from a context of, you made an attempt to do something and maybe there's a better way to do it. And that is the way I treat or I define or like to define the word failure. And every time you have an expectation, and if that expectation is not met, either personally or with a team that you get to work, it certainly leads to disappointment. So the last 20 years of running business, well, there are a lot of disappointments and failures from the context, the way I've defined that we've learned from, are many, because you're operating in a very competitive environment. There are a lot of things in the last 20 years happened so fast. Every time we feel that, wow, we've reached the heights and you're going to celebrate success, and then comes, it's a roller coaster. You had, there was this economy that went for, like everybody knew about what happened in 29 to 2012. So the economy was not doing so well. Then you had, other environmental adversities that could kind of disrupt your business. In the last 2 years, I don't even need to talk about the pandemic that we are still continuing to go. So I think every time there is a disruption or adversity that comes into the marketplace, it kind of collapses your entire plan. You draw a strategy to go in a particular direction, like, next 2 years, next 3 years. And when it doesn't go the way you want it to, what is the point of choice you make, right? And I think we have survived it until now. Because we've always anticipated that, and we look at disappointments and failures more as a stepping stone for us to exploring different things that we need to do. And that has allowed us to sustain in the marketplace for the last 20 years. It has never been easy, Krista, if I have to put it in a nutshell. It has never been easy. Every time you say that you're going to do something better than what you've done, you're always thrown into a challenge where you again need to start right from the beginning.
Were there any tough things? Were there any tough things that you had to deal with? I mean, of course, like right now we're in the middle of the pandemic. I mean, pandemic is one of the toughest things ever for a lot of people, right? But specifically to your industry, are there anything that was really like, it was, well, I wouldn't call it memorable, but something that you remember and that you probably learned from it?
I think there was a time when, in the initial years of our formation of the company, and we saw a steady growth of the organization, and we know we were in the upswing. We were very fortunate to bag some of the best brands in the Indian marketplace to partner with as learning partner. So we were quite happy of gathering big clientele in our kitty. And when you have big clientele, you also require to scale up your operations, right? And when the 2009-10 recession, market recession happened, right? Economic recession that hit us, really taught us a lesson, because, you never anticipated that to happen. While we always tell us, we ask ourselves a what if questions, but there are times you don't get to ask certain right questions because you don't do a scenario planning that this is what will happen. And especially when you're in your and you're doing very well, right? You're far more optimistic, or you're blindly optimistic to believe that you're going to do extremely well. And that taught us a lesson that, we need to spread our business a little more thinner. You know what I mean? You can't just flock all your eggs in one basket.
Or even depend on one specific industry or one specific kind of company, right?
Absolutely. So while we did that very beautifully in 2005, when we were a lot appreciated in the kind of work that we did for two significant industries, and we said we need to kind of move across industries, which we did. Having said that, we also stayed focused in wanting to partner with large clientele, and we were quite happy doing what we did. And maybe we thought that's a strategy that would allow us to accelerate our growth path as well. At the same time, when the recession hit, is when we realized that two things we realized. One, we need to ensure that we need to get key accounts or key clients across industries and just not limited to one or two. Two, we also need to upskill ourselves to come up with innovative solutions in the marketplace. Constant innovation is a key for you to thrive and sustain and grow in the marketplace, right? And that is when in 2010, while the entire market was still in a mode of uncertainty, I think we took the bold step and we said, no, we want to explore new solutions and see how we can redefine and re-engineer the solutions that we need to offer to the marketplace. So a couple of takeaway that we deciphered from those disappointments or learning is one, let's expand the scope of solutions that we are offering to the clients, right? Two, always ensure that you're able to upskill yourself and stay relevant and provide relevant solutions in the marketplace. Three, you're working in a space which deals with people. So you don't need to get stuck with a particular industry or a particular organization, right? Which means feet out in the market, right? You need to constantly build a pipeline of clients to whom you can work with, and just not fall into any kind of a complacency thinking that we've arrived, we've succeeded, and, we will thrive. And that is what we've continued doing in the last 10 years.
So when you said your third point is very interesting, right? The part where you said continue to have a pipeline of clients. In the early days, how did you market to those big name companies, which eventually became your clients, right? So how did you went and introduce yourself or your offerings or solutions to those companies?
I'm still yet to decode that element in me, and wish I did, and then it would have been much easier for me to pass it on to many. I think it's my I'm a kind of a person who would want to sell something that I strongly believe will add value, Krista. And when I'm very confident that it can, right? It's a conviction that I have, or the belief that I have in my solution, that I'm able to guarantee to my clients when I partner with. Of course, like I said, that we had the right set of people. We had an integrated solution approach. But what people bought was my aspiration in the beginning, right? Because I was a new entrepreneur in the marketplace. I had 10 years of experience when I became an entrepreneur. I have very limited experience in the field of learning and development. But the solutions that I was able to offer to the marketplace, I had this very strong conviction that, this is going to work. Try me. And the organizations that I explored, which is some of the bigger giants in the marketplace then, a big thanks to them that they trusted in what I had to say. And they said, why not? Let's try. And if it works, it works. And it worked. And then it's your stepping stone, right? Because if you do it right with one organization, until date, most of our business, and I would say 50% of our business, comes in from client references. And
so if you do a good job, it is word of mouth.
Absolutely, right? Because we are selling something which is very intangible, right? You're talking about solutions that is going to enhance people development, who in turn are going to, make those growth stories possible for organizations. I'm not selling something which is very technical or tangible in nature. These are experiences that you're giving to people. And these are certain skills that people need to consciously make an effort to change, adapt, adopt. So there is no way I can guarantee you, Krista, if you come to me and say, Paddy, I want to become a better leader, I can tell you what are certain attributes that you need to own, what are certain skills that you need to practice that will allow you to become a better leader. I can give you the right advocacy, I can give you the right prescription, but at the end of the day, you need to do it. I can't do it for you. So it's very important for us to ensure that we are able to build an approach and a very systemic approach that will allow these individuals and the organizations to have a framework to follow that will make sure that these people adapt and adopt, if not all, but at least those desirable and essential skills that will make them succeed in their work, right? And that is how we've been able to build success stories with a lot of organizations.
So now I want to switch up a little bit. I want to ask you this one, because you do a lot of diversity and inclusion work, right? What is that one question that you wish women would ask more of?
What is that one question I wish that women should ask more of? I think why not is a question they need to ask. Whenever they hit a barrier, whenever they hit that ceiling, I think if they ask why not, they will find possibilities. And I always have done that, Krista. I've always done that. And when somebody comes and challenges you, or let's say when the pandemic happened, right? Not a great experience for many. A lot of organizations had to thrive, explore different possibilities, so on and so forth, right? If you had to ask this question, why us? You will always look for reasons that will only lead you to something that you can never work around. So I think it's very important for women to not fall prey to their limiting beliefs or their inner demons, but be able to challenge themselves at those challenging times or times of adversities. Right? And I think if they are able to ask that question, they will find possibilities. And there are many women today that they are doing. I mean, today we work with a lot of folks in the corporate world. I see a lot of youngsters, right? Today we work with a lot of young women leaders or young women folks who are getting into the corporate spectrum. And wow, I wish I were them when I was in my early 20s or mid 20s.
And what are you no longer afraid of? Since, you just mentioned earlier that is this your 50th year? Or coming up to?
Another 2 months and I celebrate my Golden Jubilee.
Wow. Happy advance birthday.
Thank you very much.
But what are you no longer afraid of after 50 years?
I could say in the last 20 years, I'm no longer afraid of my life partner, being with him. That aside, what am I not afraid of? I'm not afraid of wanting challenges in life. If there are no challenges, I do not know where I would get my energy from. Challenges keep me alert. Challenges keep me awake. And challenges are the ones that gives me the zest in my life to always take the leap of faith to move to the next level.
And what personal goal are you focused on?
I'm so glad you asked that question. So one of my personal goals ever been in this journey is I truly believe that whatever you make, you need to give back to the society, right? I was once taught by my mentor where he said, it's important for you to give that unconditional love to someone, right? We all run a race. Who's going to run it faster? And I can talk about multiple races because I was an athlete all my life. But at the end of the day, it's extremely critical that, if you want to live in abundance, you also need to give in abundance. And it's a law of reciprocity at the end of the day, right? So when we started Siksha, my husband and me very clearly decided that how are we going to give it back to the society? Whatever little we make. But is there any which ways that will make our purpose of running an organization more meaningful and more fulfilling to us? And will also keep us on our toes. Because when you commit to doing something, and when it is beyond you, then you can never give up, right? You have to push yourself to doing it. So in 2006, we set up a foundation or a trust to help children who are affected with cancer, and they don't come from very affluent family, and therefore they can't afford medical treatment. So we tied up with a local hospital, and we were able to support medication for those children. And we would have touched over 8,000, 9,000. I've lost the count. So whatever that we could do in the last many years, we've been able to do it. We also support orphanages. We also support autistic children who need early intervention. We also support education for children from less affluent family. And we know that they have dreams and they have aspirations. And just because they don't have the money to afford. So when someone approaches us, whatever that we can do in our limited capacity, we've always done that. So my personal goal, very clearly, Krista, is I want to work with children. I want to continue to work with children because children make me happy. I always find that innocence that which I really wish I continued to have. So I want to do something in the sphere of enabling, encouraging children and ensure that they have a brighter future, because these are the ones that are going to be our future, entrepreneurs in the world that we are living in. So that is one area that constantly gives me that power to sustain what I do. And that's one thing which always keeps me awake and not give up so easily in life.
So that's something that you are anchored to in a good way, right?
Absolutely.
You're also your North Star.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And how about crazy? Now let's go to the realm of crazy. Have you done any crazy things in your life? You've done a lot of interesting entrepreneurial stuff. You have a trust for children, but have you done anything like really, like, well, not jumping out of planes, but anything that you feel is a little bit unusual?
I'm told many times that I'm in the best of my human element when I just dance.
Ooh.
I'm not a dancer, right? I'm not a professional dancer, but when you are with the right set of people and there is music around, I just let myself be, right? So when there is this real fun music, it kind of really scares me to just be myself. So I'm in my true human element. So when we go for these large gatherings and there is this party in the evening and there's loud music and people say dance, and you would find me the one.
The first on the dance floor.
On the floor, absolutely. And it doesn't matter to me who I'm with, who is seeing me, who's not seeing me. It doesn't really bother. And I just enjoy being myself in that aura.
Wow. I wouldn't have expected that from you. I was thinking, okay, maybe you're going to say something like totally sports related, or totally, totally out of this entrepreneurship realm. But yeah, I
my crazy side, and how often do I do that? Unfortunately, with the pandemic around, haven't done much. But yes, that reveals a crazy side of me. I enjoy, and I love being with people that can crack a lot of jokes. I enjoy jokes. I have that funny bones in me, so I tend to connect with people much easier. I'm always an icebreaker in a larger crowd. And
you're probably the connector too. You're a connector too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll come to the top of the hour. I have one final question. Is what's that key takeaway that you want our listeners to remember this episode by? After we listened to you talking about, I would have delved deeper into a lot of things, but we only have 1 hour. So in this 1 hour, you've said many things, very insightful, especially about running a business, especially about how you decided to diversify and go into different businesses, as well as how those are also interdependent, right? So they're not individual separate businesses, but they all tie in with what you really offer in Siksha. So what is that one key takeaway that you believe that our listeners should remember?
With whatever experience that I have gathered and in my own practical wisdom, if I were to share to the audience, what could be the key takeaway, or at least I can help them resonate with my own story that I've lived. And if there is something that's going to inspire them as a takeaway, one would be always ask those, challenge yourself, right? And if you need to challenge yourself, you cannot just be complacent being happy where you are. And I think that opens to an amazing world of possibilities. So can we all own a hat of a possibility search attitude? And when you own that possibility search attitude, right, I strongly believe that eventually everyone would be able to follow their dreams or achieve their dreams or follow their passion. And nothing can stop them from achieving what they really want to do.
And in your case, what's the future? I know you've spoken about all the different businesses too and your foundation, but looking forward, pandemic or no pandemic, what's in the future for your business as well as yourself?
Very clearly, we want to be a learning partner that can enable a lot of growth stories for organizations, just not in India, but globally, because the pandemic has also broken the geographical boundaries to the virtual platform that we are dealing with. So if an organization want to explore transformation, if an organization want to equip people with the right set of skills, a brand that needs to pop up in their mind should be Siksha and WeMantra and News India. So that's the way we see the future. So we want to become an entity that people can trust in enabling them to achieve their growth stories in the space of talent development, talent engagement, and talent transformation.
And where can people find you online?
They can certainly find me online at www.siksha.in. They can also find me on LinkedIn as Padmaja Vaswani. And I'm sure you're going to have my name published and they could...
Yeah, we'll link to all those, the links of your other companies as well.
Of course. So since I'm in 3 distinct companies, so they'll find me in WeMantra.com, they'll find me in newsnavigationindia.com, they're going to find me in Siksha.in, and of course on LinkedIn with my name as Padmaja Vaswani. So I'll be more than happy to connect with people and believe that I can enable some value for them in my interaction.
Thank you so much, Padmaja. It has really been an invaluable interview because you have given us some insights into not only about yourself as a woman who's running 3 different businesses plus a foundation, and also how you told us about your adversity and how you overcame that, and what you're doing in your 50th year And I'm really happy that I got to know you. I'm really happy that our mutual friend Radha, so I must give a shout out to Radha,
Hey, mother.
who introduced you to me and said that you've really got to interview Padmaja because she is a really interesting personality with a interesting story to tell. So I'm glad you reached out, and I'm glad I, made sure that you made it on the podcast. So thank you once more, Padmaja, for sharing what you shared. And I really, really hope that this will also open more doors for other people, because if they want to be enabled, if they want to be transformed, they can definitely connect with you and learn more about your solutions and your offerings. So thank you once more, Padmaja. I'd love to have you back on again to dig into more of your stories, which we didn't get into. I want to talk about your childhood, but I didn't get that chance yet.
Not at all, Krista. And thank you so much indeed for the opportunity. And I think our feelings are truly mutual. And wishing you all the best. And you're an entrepreneur in your own way, and wishing you a lot of success ahead as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you again.
See you too.
What were your aha moments from this episode? What resonated most with you about setbacks, roadblocks, or challenges? And most importantly, will you be using Padmaja's questions for yourself? Check out the show notes on the website at womenpreneurasia.com, and remember to sign up for my email updates. If you have a question that you'd like me to ask any of our guests, let me know. I'll try to incorporate your question in my upcoming episodes and seasons. If you're sharing this on your social media, please use the hashtag WomenpreneurAsia. In next week's episode, I'll be speaking to Penny Chung of Malaysia. Penny is the founder of Penny Essentials, a holistic wellness business that offers products and classes with a thriving 40,000 strong community. And she's helping people live a full and healthy life. Penny wants to bring back the fun and community into her wellness approaches and products. She wants to let everyone know what's good for you doesn't have to be boring. Join me next week as I speak to Penny Chung.